Welcome, everybody. This is Starting Out Bright, and I am Noreen Savage. If we have not met, I will just tell you a little bit about myself, who I am, who I'm not, and who I'm not is anybody official with Bright Line Eating. So I want to put that out there right away, but the program has done a lot for me. I got familiar with Bright Line Eating through my friend Lori, who posted on her 1-year anniversary that she had lost 57 pounds with this program, Bright Line Eating. And if anybody was interested, to just go ahead and reach out to her. So my little fingers zoomed over to the messenger to get the scoop from Lori. And then she proceeded to tell me there are 4 bright lines. If you're new to Bright Line Eating, there's a book by Dr. Susan Pierce Thompson, and she talks about bright lines you don't cross. Those 4 bright lines are no sugar, no flour, 3 meals a day, and weighed and measured portions. And when my friend Lori told me that, I thought, absolutely no way. There was no way that I could do that. But I really like you, Lori. And we decided to go out for lunch. And then she proceeded to tell me more about Bright Line Eating. This was in May, and I just let this information sit in my mind and in my heart. And in those 2 months from May to July, I took an inventory of where I was. My feet were swollen for over a year. I was trying everything to lose weight. My knees were in so much pain, I could hardly walk. In fact, I had started using a cane the last couple weeks. And there were nights I really didn't know if I'd wake up in the morning. So I was at a point of pain, 270 pounds on 5'2". And I thought, I'm going to give this one more try. And so I did. I bought the book, and Lori suggested that I get into We Eat Bright with Lines, which is a Facebook group. It's a private group. Since then, there are many groups. There's the Bright Line Official, which is a public group. There's Starting Out Bright, which is associated with this. It's a private group, and many, many other groups. But when I was in that first group, I just was amazed at the camaraderie of people, the hope, the encouragement, and the success. People losing weight, 10, 50, 75, 100 pounds. I couldn't believe it. And I promised myself that if I lasted 1 year, I would do what Lori did. I would post on my private Facebook page, and I would help anybody I could. Well, I'm a Christian, and at that time, right just before I'm going to post, I felt God told me, Noreen, you can do more than that. You could have Zooms. It was the time of COVID and Zooms, and you could connect some of these successful people and share their stories with those who need help and hope. And I have been just amazed. Today is the 60th Zoom chat since July 2020. And I couldn't do that without people being able to step in, take one for the team, as someone once said. So tonight, you are in for a treat. Kelleen Facer is here. Oh my goodness, this is going to be wonderful. So Kelleen, I am so glad that you could come on. Thank you to Beth, who introduced us, mutual friend, Beth Wilson Monroe, who also was interviewed a little while ago, and that's on a YouTube video replay. So again, Kelleen, how are you tonight?
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's touching.
I'm so happy you're here. And, I told a little tiny piece of my story, and I would like to invite you to start wherever you feel comfortable, as far back or as close to your entrance into Bright Line Eating. So what brought you here, and what did it take to get to the point of making that choice?
Well, I'm just going to go back to when I was about 3 or 5 years old. I started trying to find food. I was binging. I was trying to find anything that my mom was a baker. She baked a lot, and I would, even though sometimes it didn't taste that good to me, I'd still eat it. I would try and find anything I could. And then when I was in 3rd grade, my mom signed me up for Weight Watchers, and I started that in 3rd grade, and I did that all the way through high school, and I never really got anywhere with it. I never saw a right size body ever. And then of course, and I remember one time I ordered diet pills when I was in junior high. I hid it from my mom. They didn't do anything. I did fen-phen. I did all of these different diets, all of these different things. Tried everything I could to lose weight, and I never ever got to my right size body ever. Until in 2017, well, I'm going to go back a little bit. I weighed 280 pounds at my heaviest weight. At that point, I was diagnosed with diabetes, type 2 diabetes, and I decided I can't do this. I watched my dad. My dad has since died from complications to diabetes. My grandfather lost his leg. All of my uncles have died of heart attacks due to diabetes. So it was really big in my family, and I just said, I can't do that. So I was 280 pounds. I quit eating sugar. I just started eating everything sugar free, not understanding what that does to the brain. And I lost 50 pounds, and I pretty much kept that off for a number of years. And then my sister-in-law, Val Riding, who is also in Bright Line Eating, she's fantastic. I saw a picture of her, and I said, Val, what are you doing? And she told me about Bright Line Eating. And of course I had the same reaction everybody does. How do you not eat sugar and flour? And then I started, but I only read the book, and I read the book 3 times, and I was doing really, really well. And I lost 30 pounds, and then I went on a cruise. And as soon as I went on the cruise, I came back, and then I started eating at night. And to be honest, my husband was like, are you going to have to weigh and measure your food every night for the rest of our lives? So that was just one more reason. I mean, not blaming him, but it was just one more thing of me saying, I'm not going to do that to him anymore. Obviously, it irritates him. So I came back, and I tried to do the 1 plate rule as good as I could. And everybody I've ever talked to that has struggled at all with Bright Line Eating Day always say the same thing. I did really good for breakfast. I did okay for lunch, but by dinner, it was a nightmare, right? I think probably everybody has felt that way. And so after the cruise, I gained the 30 pounds back, and then I was just lost until that was in 2019. On December 31st of 2019, I said, I'm done. I've got to get all in. And I didn't have any help when I was doing it the first time. I didn't have a buddy. I didn't know how to do Facebook. I'm not that computer literate. I was just not in the community at all. Didn't understand the community. So in January 1st of 2020, I know you're not supposed to start in January 1st, but I did. And on January 1st, 2020, I became all in. And I was so excited, and I got into the community, and I was really excited about it. And I had a neighbor ask me about what I was doing to lose weight. She had just been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. And so she and I started doing it together. We buddied up, and then I joined Grit. And Grit really helped me. I didn't join a boot camp at first. Grit was the first thing I did. And it was fantastic. You know, the beginning of COVID, all of those things were hard. And at this time I was losing weight, and I was doing great on it. And I started with Grit. I got a buddy in New York that I just love, Amy Wood's fantastic. And I got a mastermind group. There's 7 of us, and we're still together today. In fact, we had our mastermind call today, and it's fantastic. I love them, each one of them, just like they're my sisters. And so we got together, and then I loved Grit, but I wanted to do Gideon Games because I'm a game person. So I'm like, I got to do Gideon Games. So then I found out that I had to join boot camp to be able to do Gideon Games. So I joined boot camp, and then that's where it all came together. I hit maintenance while I was in boot camp, but I was right at the first of boot camp. I was only like the second weekend, and I was really struggling, which most everybody that I've talked to that's done maintenance has told me and agree that it's really hard at first. I mean, maintenance is a real hard thing. And so when I hit that and I got into it, I cried for about 3 weeks. I don't cry very often. And I cried for 3 weeks because it was so hard for me. And then
I want to go ahead.
And so my buddy was about 3 weeks behind me. So as soon as she got up to speed, then we could kind of do it together a little bit. And we just worked together to try. And anyway, that was a year and a half ago. I have been on maintenance since June 21st, which was my son's birthday of 2020. And I have never in my life been in a right size body until now. And I love it. It is so fun.
This is just amazing. I'm trying to do the math here. So when you came back from the cruise, you gained the 30 pounds back. So you were
Right.
about like up to 250, right?
I was up to 215.
Or 215. Okay.
Well, yeah, 215 when I started again. And then I lost 65 pounds. So I'm now 150.
Okay. But you dropped significant amount of weight in boot camp and grit.
Right. I dropped 65 pounds in 6 months. So from January
Wow.
1st to June, yeah, 10 pounds a month. It just was like clockwork.
Okay. So when you're saying you're struggling, was the struggle basically you were afraid to go
I
into
was not just afraid, I was terrified.
Okay.
I was terrified. My goal weight was 155. I hit that and I was so excited, but I was so terrified that I would just go back up, right? It was so scary. And to do an ad was just really, really scary. But I did it and I cried through it as the weight went up and then the weight came back down. I mean, it works exactly the way they say it's going to. But it's just such a terrifying thing when you've never been in a right size body before in your life.
Wow.
To all of a sudden be there and then, and then you're supposed to eat more and you're supposed to slow this weight down when it felt so great to lose the weight. That was so exciting. So it was hard. It was hard.
Wow. This is pretty amazing because you did like a stop and start here. And I'm imagining someone listening right now is thinking, oh, but I haven't even gotten started. Okay. Right. So initially, when you got in, you read the book 3 times. What was it about what Susan wrote that you said, I can do this? I mean,
it was totally the science. It was totally the science. And my why was because I was diabetic. I did not want to lose a leg. I didn't want to lose my kidneys. I didn't want to lose my eyesight. I cannot have people buy my eyes. I'm like really nervous just to go get an eye exam. And I watched my dad with retinopathy have to have surgery on his eyes and do all of the things that you have to do with diabetic stuff. And I just thought, I can't do that. I can't do that. So the science behind it really is what cemented it for me. Like to think about cocaine and sugar and flour being the same thing was like, wow, eye-opening, right?
Amazing.
Amazing. And knowing and feeling what that does to my body, knowing exactly that, yeah, that sugar and flour does do that to my body. I've never been on cocaine, so I don't know what it feels like, but I can definitely feel the high of a sugar high.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I can feel the high of eating a ton of bread. I can feel that right now. I can even, say that's a real feeling. So I can imagine that my brain is going through all of that. And then to boot, my brain is having to deal with this diabetes and my kidneys and my pancreas is having to deal with diabetes. I mean, it just worked.
So how did that happen for the diabetes? Because you were diabetic. It wasn't pre-diabetic. And I know you've written on Facebook about diabetes because this is something that you're very strong, you're passionate about it. You had an upfront and center view growing up.
Yeah.
I mean, there is no other real life experience than seeing someone having to have amputation or lose their eyesight to know, oh, this is a serious thing I want to avoid. But you were writing that 1 out of 3 people are pre-diabetic and they don't even know it. I haven't done that research and I'm like, wow.
Yeah, it's amazing when you're diagnosed with diabetes, like you've probably been diabetic for a year or two and it's type 2 diabetic. When you're type 1 diabetic, you end up on insulin right then. You're in the hospital, your pancreas completely stops, and you're in the hospital with it. When you're type 2 diabetic, you can go for years and have your sugars high, and you have no idea why you're tired. You're just pretty much contributing it to the fact that I weigh 280 pounds. You're tired because you can't move because you're too big to move. You know what I mean?
But isn't there, and I may be wrong because I've not been diabetic, but is there maybe some kind of thought that, well, the medicine can handle it?
Oh, definitely. And that's the whole thing right there, is that a lot of times people, including myself, I went up to the first drug that they put you on is metformin. And so that was my first drug, and it's 1,000 milligrams or 2,000 milligrams is the highest amount of metformin. And then they go to another drug, and then another drug, and another drug until you get on insulin. So when you start with metformin, I had gotten up to 2,000 milligrams. And I'm going to tell you why I never went past that. Because when I became diabetic, I went to get a pill tote, one of those 7-day counter pill totes. And I asked the pharmacist which one would be the best one to get. And I said, I was just diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. And she says, oh, you better get the biggest one you can find, because you're going to not just have diabetic medication, you're going to have cholesterol medication, you're going to have high blood pressure medication, you're going to end up with all of these medications, and you're going to need the biggest one you can find.
Oh my gosh.
No, I'm not.
Wow.
No, I'm not. And right then and there, I stopped eating sugar. And that was huge. And I dropped the 50 pounds, but I still didn't drop the flour. I didn't really know that the flour was such an issue. And so then when I dropped the flour, all of a sudden my A1Cs dropped down. My A1C was, I think, 8.7 or 8.3 when I was diagnosed. And I dropped my A1Cs now 4.9.
Man.
And it feels fantastic. Like, I have energy that I never thought I would have, and I never thought I could have, but I had always been extremely obese.
So now I know that you said that that doesn't cure diabetes.
No.
It's not a cure, we talked the other day, you said you could start eating badly and you'd see a reversal, like in not too long of time.
Yeah.
So this is a way of life. But yeah. I want to bring up something else that we talked about, because I thought this was so profound. You talked about being a breast cancer survivalist, and it was a very different experience than diabetes.
Right.
What was that like compared to this?
Having had breast cancer, you hand your life and your body over to the doctors, pretty much. You just trust them that they know what they're doing, because you have no idea. You get diagnosed. Within a week, I had a mastectomy, and I had no idea what I was doing. Then they started chemotherapy. As soon as I healed from my surgery, I started the chemotherapy. I was 33 years old, and no history of breast cancer in my family or anything. And I was totally blown away. I just had to do what they told me to do, and that's all. I didn't have a choice. With diabetes, I have a choice. I get to bend my elbow. I get to put it up to my mouth. And if I'm putting the wrong food up to my mouth, I'm creating my diabetes to be worse. I'm always going to be diabetic, always. And I can tell you that the easiest thing to do at a party, the easiest thing when everybody's coming up to you with all their goodies and they say, oh, I made this just for you. You say, I'm diabetic. And they say, okay. They don't say, oh, just taste a little bit. They don't. They don't even say that. So it's fantastic that I'm not glad I'm diabetic, but I'm grateful to have that crutch to be able to say, I can't eat it. It's not that I don't want to, I can't.
Well, I just thought of a comeback for those who are not diabetic. I could say, well, I'm flirting with diabetes.
There you go.
That's not untrue. We're all flirting with it if we go down the path.
That is so true. That is so true. But so breast cancer, I had no control over, but diabetes, I have control over. I like that. I say I'm allergic. I like that. Yeah.
And I think it is important to have these words to be able to slip off your tongue very quickly and easily, because it has to become automatic. That
Well, can I tell you, it's not only me saying it to them, it's me saying it to me.
true.
I am reminding myself I'm diabetic and I shouldn't want for that goodie, whatever it is, because I'm diabetic. And if I eat that, again, I'm letting my diabetes control me instead of me controlling my diabetes. It's my choice. I can't control if the cancer comes back. I can't. I had the mastectomy. I did the chemotherapy. I just pray that it doesn't come back, right? And I'm 20 years out and it feels fantastic. But diabetes, that's going to be the rest of my life, and I'm the one controlling it.
So you got rid of the pill bag.
Yep.
Awesome. That's
Woo-hoo! No more
that's-
metformin.
well, and Deb says here, and sugar feeds cancer. So,
Right. Oh, I'm sure I contributed to it 150%, no doubt. And I didn't know that I was contributing to it. But after you're diagnosed with it, you're locked. I mean, it is what it is.
yeah.
But at least the diabetes, type 2 diabetes, you can, I'm not going to say you can reverse it, but you can control it.
Right. That sounds so, like music to people's ears right now as they're hearing it, I'm sure. So you went through grit.
Yes.
And what are the tools that you adopted that you took as your own? Because I know there's a long list of everything, but each of us have our own journey.
Right.
And so we pick and choose. Some do everything, and that's great. But what are the things that you decided to go with? And was it automatic, like right in the beginning? Like, what did you start doing? Besides, I imagine, like, did you go all in the 4 bright lines when the January?
I did all 4 bright lines. But I'll tell you what grit did for me. Number one, it helped me control the chaos in life. Everything that was going on, everything that was crazy, that it just calmed me down. And it had me take a deep breath and realize I can make it through, even through all the stress. The other thing it really did that was so important for me was the automaticity. That really cemented my automaticity. And I have to tell you, I was thinking about that this morning. And I was thinking after my walk, even before my walk, I do certain things every day. And they're automatic. Like, I go for my walk, I take my dogs with me, all of this, I feed my dogs right after, blah, blah, blah. It's a daily move. It happens every day. It's no different now with my food. And it became that way through grit. I became someone who ate very simply and I eat the same breakfast and same lunch every day, and dinner changes up a little bit. But
Well, someone asked, what is grit? And I'm thinking it's basically like a boot camp, right? But it's
right.
more structured.
It was written, actually, they wrote it right at the first of COVID because Susan Pierce Thompson saw the stress that everybody was under. And so she wanted to help with that stress. And with her and Edward Considine, they both came together and they made what was called grit. And so every week, Susan would talk to us and talk us through the stress and what that does to the brain and what it does to our bodies. All of those things were brought up. And then Edward would do parts work, and he would actually do a parts work session every week live so that you could, and then people in the community in grit he would ask them to come and do a parts work session with him.
Okay.
So it was great. It was absolutely fantastic.
And I'm not going to delve into it a lot, but just for those who may be new, parts work, and we've talked about this in different sessions here, is internal family systems.
Correct.
And it is the science behind and the psychology behind working about, like, where you say, a part of me feels like this. Well, what is that part? And go deeper.
Right.
What is that part? And I think eventually you'd like even maybe name it. And all these parts are there to help you or support you or manage your life. And so that's just like a brief preview from what I understand. But so then you got into grit, and you said that at one point you got into mind. What was the mind part?
So I'll tell you really quick, my husband had a he had had brain surgery it's been 5 years ago now. He has epilepsy, and they removed a large part of the left temporal lobe, the hippocampus, and the magnolia on the left side. And so ended up in a deep depression and anxiety and suicidal thoughts a lot. And when she came up with Bright Line Mind, it's actually a course. Now, both of these courses are not evergreen, which means that they're not taught all the time. Boot camp is evergreen. So you can join boot camp every day. Somebody can join it every day. It doesn't really matter when you join it. But all of these other courses are only offered on occasion. I'm not even sure what's on right now. Anyway, but there's just these different courses that they offer once in a while. And they haven't, as far as I know, they haven't offered grit again since then. I wouldn't be surprised if it comes back, but she usually does boot camp all the time. And then she usually is doing one other, like Reboot Resume or whatever. So there's one other course being taught. And the Mind is actually a course that she taught in college. And so you can actually use it for her college credits. It's fantastic knowledge, just fantastic knowledge about how the mind works, what you do with your mind, ways in which you can help your mind calm down. All of those things were a part of the Mind. And I had talked my husband into joining with me, which is why I did the Mind, because I thought it might help him. And he went through 2 of the modules, and that was all he did. But I kept going, and it was absolutely fantastic.
That's great. So then you went through that, you got into Gideon games.
Right. Well, I did boot camp. I did grit, then I did boot camp, and then I did the Mind. So after boot camp, I got into Gideon games, and I did the official Gideon games to start with. And to be honest with you, it wasn't the greatest thing the first time. And then I did the unofficial Gideon games and had an amazing time, which is where I met Beth, who introduced us. And love that team. In fact, we're on an unofficial 1-year Gideon games team right now, which has just been amazing. And then I'm also on an official Gideon games team, which I just love.
So for someone new, Gideon games, you challenge other teams, and it's like staying bright each day.
Right. And I love it. It's so fun. And you Marco Polo with other people. If you don't know what Marco Polo is, that's like if I were sitting right here, I could talk to you, and you wouldn't have to be on right now to listen, and you could listen whenever you want. So it's just nice, because then you can get on and listen to your Marco Polos. There's questions that come up on my thing. I do a challenge every week. Like this week's challenge is what makes you unstoppable. And so I do a challenge like that once a week. It's really fun. And then everybody gets on Marco Polo and tells us why they're unstoppable. What makes you unstoppable? And you buoy each other up, and then you stay bright. And if you're real competitive,
and what you're saying is, to me, when I was in the unofficial, and I did that through I was just in We Eat Right with Lines, and I got a hold of the unofficial group. What that did for me was get me started with really more community. I mean, there was a larger community, but now there was a smaller group. And so sometimes, and I'm not saying you need to get into Gideon games, but now if you can connect with a mastermind or an accountability like you are with Amy, you said, your mastermind has been going off of these groups that you've been in, right? And this is the piece where I think somebody new, if you can connect, even just like start out in the community, it gets you like aware that you don't have to do this alone.
See, in grit, like the second module in grit, she actually says that you need to find a buddy, and you could go on the site and find a buddy that was also in grit, and that we had to call and tell each other's food every day. And that was to get that automaticity started and get it going. And to this day, every morning at 5:30 in the morning, I talk to my buddy in New York, and we tell each other our food. Been doing it for 1.5 years. And it's fantastic. And we've helped each other through so many things, not just eating, life.
Right.
Life. I mean, I have met one of my best and dearest friends in that. And I think about the people I've met through Gideon games, some of my closest friends I've ever had, I've met in this community, and it's so cool. So I want to tell you really quick, Amy actually was going, and I hope she's okay with me saying her name so much. If she's not, oh well, she's fine. But she was actually going and doing some therapy at the time. She asked the therapist, she's like, how do we get so close so fast? Like, how did Kellene and I just bond so fast? And the therapist said, because your food is the most intimate part of you.
Mm.
And when you share your most intimate part with another person, you become bonded so fast. And we did. Like, within 2 weeks, I swear, she was like one of my dearest friends. And I thought about that, and I thought it's so true. In no other community that I've ever been in, can you ask a woman 2 questions? How old are you? And what is your weight? And not only do we answer happily.
Oh, this is just
I'm 52 years old and I weigh 150 pounds.
Oh, let me talk about constipation and all.
Right. And
Holy
boobs and not boobs and everything hanging in the ground.
Oh my gosh. How much skin do you have? Oh my word. Who would ever guess that this would be okay?
Yeah, the most the craziest thing in the world that people would never ask anyone. And we're like, sure, ask me anything you want.
You know what? I want to talk about something. You mentioned the word, and I want to zero in on this word, automaticity. Yeah. And especially for somebody who's new, because it's a word that just gets thrown around. I had something happen on Saturday, and we talked on Saturday. Well, I woke up late. I mean, I never do this. I woke up late and I didn't take a shower. My normal get up, take a shower, everything. Well, this went on. I'm in the middle of the afternoon, and my husband goes, aren't you going to take a shower today? And I'm like, I think I've passed that. And it was like a bothered thing. And I realized, and I said to him, because it's been this thing about, well, why don't you just have rice for dinner? Or, this kind of stuff. I'm like, like how the shower is, like, it is so odd that I did not take a shower, number one. But if I took it at 4:00 in the afternoon, I'm thinking, what's the point? I'm going to turn around and go to bed in a few hours. But it was so odd. The thing was, I take a shower in the morning. It's automatic. And I said, if I do that with my food, and I'm just like, maybe I won't have rice, maybe I will. Now I'm playing games, and I have nothing. It's not automatic. And for me, of course, the shower, like the next day, same thing. And it'll be maybe another 5 years before that happens again. But, that's how we want to be with this automaticity, that our meals are just so automatic. Right. And that was so amazing to me after about 5 weeks doing the program. It wasn't week 1, wasn't week 2, but 5 weeks for me. And it was automatic. It was just like taking a shower in the morning, that, yes, this is what I do. And it's normal, and it's okay. And I'm even weighing this food. So I just thought I'd throw that in there as, we're talking about automatic. But what we did mention was the 3:00 automatic too. Mm-hmm. And you had such a great thought about that.
So I realized that there's a lot of us across the board that at 3 PM, we're all hungry, right? I mean, it's just like clockwork. We just all of a sudden get hungry. And it dawned on me one time that, we came home from school about 3:00 PM. And what did you do right when you came home from school? You had a snack every single day. You walked in the house and you threw your backpack wherever you threw your backpack, and you went in and you had a snack. If your mom let you, I don't know, maybe you didn't grow up in that realm, but I did. And most people that I know have that afternoon hunger. And I think it's because that automatic, we had that so ingrained in us that every day we came home from school, we have a snack. And so we have to get past that. I mean, that's deep. Like, I can say that I've been on maintenance for 1.5 years, but I did 50 years of having a snack at 3 p.m.
Right.
That is a strong hold, right? The 1.5 years of maintenance, I'm still trying to get that hold.
Yeah.
So you have something that strong, you have to get past it.
Well, it could be the same thing at night. Like my parents we had good popcorn and we had apples that, we lived on a farm, and this was wholesome.
Right.
And it was pretty frequently at night.
Yeah.
It wasn't so much a treat as just a nighttime ordeal. You
go to the movie theater, you have popcorn at the movie theater, you smell it, you go and get it, and you have it. That's what you do when you go to a movie. So yeah, all of those things are automatic. Now we're trying to get this program automatic and have the automaticity. And that's when you'll hear, for those who are new, who haven't heard this, you'll hear it's easier to be 100% than 95%. It's because when you're 100%, the automaticity is locked. Like, you don't have that stress of wondering, do I or don't I have the rice? It's just, no, I don't.
Right.
You don't. You just don't. It's not a question. But when you're 95%, there's always that question. And to get rid of that question is so calming.
And I would suggest too, there's a vlog that she has done, Susan has done, intermittent reinforcement.
The best vlog she's ever done.
Right. If you have not listened to that, that is one to listen to, because I know for me, it was a game changer. It was the decision, it's, the decision of a little bit now, and you can't turn it off after a while. So getting back, and I'm talking a little bit about these things too, because I know that what some people call sponsor, but you have a different word for it. And being a hiker, I think it's the perfect word. I know you're a hiker. What is that you do?
So I like to think of it as guiding, because when you hike up a mountain, if I'm teaching someone, if I'm going on a mountain that I've been on and I'm taking someone that's never been, it's better for me to walk behind them, because then we go their pace and I can guide them up the mountain from behind. But if I'm in front of them trying to pull them at my speed, it's not a very fun hike for me, and it's not a very fun hike for them, because I'm trying to pull them ahead and it just doesn't work. But if I'm behind them, and I don't care how slow we go, as long as we go to the hiking, I don't care how slow we go. So it's easier for me to guide from behind. And it's the same thing with Bright Line Eating. I feel like the word sponsor, and it's fine. If people want to use the word sponsor, it's totally fine. It's just, for me, I feel like I'm pulling someone. I'm above them somehow. And I'm not above anyone. I'm just guiding them through their journey, and they're having a journey, and it's so cool. It's such a fantastic journey, right? I mean, seriously, when you get to maintenance, like, you will see that you loved weight loss. You loved it. It is so exciting, and it's so exhilarating to get on that scale and have lost some pounds. And I understand that it's frustrating too when you hit a plateau and all of those things, but it really is exhilarating to lose that weight.
You also, for me, I mean, I experienced one this week. Over these 2 years that I've been doing this, and I'm not to goal yet, I'm not to maintenance, I've had epiphanies. I've had the aha moments where, like, wow, I did not see that coming. Even COVID itself, I had to learn that my program was more important to support than the fears that I had, to support those by, going off the rails. Fortunately, I came in before COVID, so that I had an understanding of, what, the foods were doing to me. But I really love that idea of guiding, because I know even a lot of people listening right now too have been asked to sponsor, guide others. And I think it's just a beautiful analogy of that you maybe are even watching those steps, watching the steps and like, no, you want to turn left or you'll fall off the cliff.
Right.
It's one of those. And that's actually pretty true.
Pretty true. Yeah.
It's like, if you go with that kind of thinking, you may fall in the ditch.
Right. And you know what? It is also so exhilarating for my program when I see someone have an epiphany, or when I see someone go up that next level of understanding and that automaticity happen for them. It's like huge. It's just, there's something about it that's just so, it's mind blowing to me. Yeah. Really.
Now, I want to also talk about something that you may deal with as a guide to help people. And of course, you're not acting as a therapist or anything, but, bringing you back to this young child that you were 3 years old, you're saying. Mm-hmm. Did you say third grade for Weight Watchers?
Third grade.
Okay, so there are things going on. You cannot go through that kind of experience without some serious situations going on. Outwardly with people, students, maybe not meaning to be mean, but some probably do mean to be mean.
Right.
There are so many layers to this. Feeling left out, wanting to be left out, maybe even feeling invisible at times. Yeah. Did you deal with that? And and if you did, how do you deal with it and overcome with those things?
As a young person, I was always, I'm the youngest of 6 children, and my siblings are athletes for the most part. I have 4 of them that are pretty much athletes through school. My brothers all played football and we watched that. My sister played volleyball and stuff. And I was always the support person on the team. I tried out and I never made the team because I was obese. And then I would just, I would go get the balls, or I would get their water bottles, and when I rode on the bus, I just sat in the front with the coaches. I didn't sit with the team. I wasn't really part of the team, even though they said I was part of the team. I really wasn't part of the team. So I was kind of invisible there. I kept score, whatever. And then, so then I just learned to hide myself. Like I hid myself behind my siblings. I hid myself behind the team. It was just easier to not be in the limelight. And I didn't trust myself at that point to have, I didn't see myself as an athlete. And it was probably, honestly, about 1.5 years ago, and it's going to make me cry, but I was hiking with my friend, and we were going up to a place called Lake Blanche here in Utah, and we were snowshoeing and spiking. And I felt my feet lift my body and move up this really steep terrain on snowshoes. And I, for the first time, saw myself as an athlete.
Wow.
It was unreal. And I told my best friend, I said, oh my gosh, Claudia, I can move my legs. I have big feet. I wear a size 12 in women's. I have big feet. And then for the first time in my life, I was grateful for my big feet.
Wow.
I can do things with this body I've never been able to do. I became an athlete in climbing that I've never been able to be. And it's all because of bright line eating. I hiked before. When you see those other pictures of me heavy, I still love the outdoors. I still love to be outside.
Yeah.
But it took me 4 hours to hike what I hike in an hour now.
Wow.
It's amazing, the difference. Just incredible. And I'm so grateful for that I can actually see when I hike that mountain that I hiked it twice this week. And literally it used to take me 4 hours to do that same one. And I run down that now in the dark with my headlamp on. It's fantastic. I love it.
That is incredible.
It's something I could have never done before. Hiking, the pictures that you showed were me up in Montana at Glacier, and I loved the hiking we did up there. Going 14 miles is nothing. It's fantastic. It feels so good. Just being able to do those things in this body is just unreal. And I don't want to sound not respectful of my body before, because my body before, it went through a lot. It carried a lot of weight. My knees carried a lot of weight. My legs carried a lot of weight. Bless my body's heart for doing that. So I respect who I was, but I love who I am.
And you said it's all because of bright line eating. No, it's because you chose to not give up on yourself. But the bright line eating, to have this information, we didn't have it before.
No.
There's no sense beating ourselves up for the past. We didn't have the information. Not only that, even in your experience with, the diabetic situation, were you really told this stuff?
No, and I actually went to the doctor after I hit my goal. I went back. I wanted to find out what my A1C was. He was excited to find out. I yelled at him and I said, why? He's the same doctor that diagnosed me with diabetes. I said, why didn't you tell me this? Why didn't you say stay away from sugar and flour and all sugar substitutes? Why didn't you tell me that? And he said, because it's going on deaf ears. Nobody listens to me. And I'm like, try it. I don't care if 1 out of 100 people didn't listen to you, but if that one did, you saved their life. This saved my life. This saved my life.
It did, and how many more it will save.
Yeah. It's
and I think about how many more children who are now exposed, like the Kellene of 3 years old. How many more children now are going to grow up with parents who have recovered from this? All of the people here who have recovered from this, who will now be, as Ed Pettit says, that thin thread, to somebody else with this information. And that's what I feel responsible for that.
Yeah.
That, just like my friend Lori, like if I can reach a hand out to somebody else, and as you are guiding others, this is, it's an important thing to understand, that to have this knowledge is not enough. Let's get ourselves well and then share what we've been gifted, because it is a gift. And it's not always easy, but you have the gift every day that, you can enjoy. And obviously you are. Yes. Why? There's a question. Why? I want to switch gears a little bit, because as we talked the other day, I found out that you had been, I don't know that you are now, a massage therapist.
Yes.
And I talked with actually my daughter when she interviewed me on one of the Starting Out Bright. I turned it back to her and I said, so what do you reward yourself with now? Because she's doing bright line eating, and she says, oh, spa treatments. And that right away piques my ears to massage. So for those who want to reward themselves, is massage a good idea with what we're doing?
It's a fantastic idea. When you get a massage and you get a real deep tissue massage, you can push all of those fluids out through the muscles and let them heal. And it can really help in, as soon as you start bright line eating, it's amazing. Like I have talked to so many people who have, after 2 or 3 weeks or even days, they can all of a sudden go up and down stairs without pain. Or they can do so many things with their body, even with weight still on. But if you get massaged throughout your weight loss journey, you'll help get all of those fluids going through your muscles, and then you can start building muscle and paying attention, and you'll be able to do so much more physically.
So that could be a little carrot.
Right. That can definitely
only.
Yeah. Every 10 pounds I lose, go get a massage, or whatever it is, or I've been bright for 100 days. I'm going to go get a massage every bright time I'm 100 days in.
That's
whatever
excellent.
it is. Yeah.
I want to ask you another question too, not about that, totally something else, about your maintenance. After you're going through this whole maintenance thing, we talked the other day that you had an aha moment yourself.
I did just recently, actually. So I was starting to have what's called the maintenance creep. And that's where you start going up with your weight just a little bit at a time. And so I actually was talking to my buddy and I'm like, I don't know why I'm having this maintenance creep. She goes, well, you might want to do a call into the accountability call. The accountability call is open to everyone that's a Bright Lifer every morning at what time? It's 6:30 here. So it's 8:30 in the East Coast. So
Bright Lifers is something you can join after you go
after boot camp.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So I was on she says, call the accountability call. And I said, well, I don't really want to. And I'm going to explain why. I had this epiphany about when I was diabetic. Well, when I'm diabetic, the fats take 18 hours to 24 hours to turn into carbohydrate. So as a diabetic, you're not usually really worried about fats. You're more worried about the carbohydrate because the carbohydrate turns into a sugar within 2 to 4 hours. And you pretty much don't work off a carbohydrate that quickly. We're not that energetic. But in 18 hours, I could work off a fat. So I just had in my mind, and so I am here to tell you humbly that I lost my weight not weighing and measuring my fats. And then I told my buddy, I said, I don't weigh and measure my fat. She says, you don't? I said, no, I don't. She said, I told you that before. And she said, I didn't remember that. And she says, Kelleen, if you were guiding someone through this journey and they said, I do everything except for, what would you say? And I would say, you're not all in. And then she says, well, look in the mirror. So I'm like, oh, I wasn't all in. I wasn't 100%. And then as soon as that happened, I started weighing and measuring my fats. And I dropped 12 pounds in like a month and a half. Wow. Because I hadn't been weighing and measuring my fats. I was doing this creep because I was adding more fat. That was what I substituted whatever for. So it was a huge epiphany. It was very humbling. Very, very humbling.
That's something I need to hear too. So we're getting close to the end here, Kelleen. And if you could just maybe have one or two of the non-scale victories that you would say way up there, what have they been for you?
Last week we went to an amusement park. Beth and I actually went to a place called Lagoon, and sitting in those seats and not feeling, they didn't have to move me to the right seat, or I fit in every one of them. Every one of them was huge. I mean, that's huge that I could go to an amusement park and just feel comfortable and not feel tight in those seats. And I could ride every ride and it didn't matter what the ride was. And nobody looked differently. Anytime that I'm able to hike and make it up a mountain without breathing heavy, like the fact that I can go up. I remember I used to have a goal that I would walk up a flight of stairs and not breathe heavy. That was my goal. And now my goal is to go 14 or 15 miles and not breathe heavy. I mean, that is huge and it's fantastic. And that is a non-scale victory. And that is help of my body. And now my body is just a machine. And I eat to feed my machine. I don't eat for pleasure anymore. I don't. And it wasn't that pleasurable before. And now I eat just so that I can do things I love to do.
And you enjoy your food, I'm sure.
I do. I love my food.
And I do have a question from Ashley, who she's day 4 here. When did you feel like it wasn't the end of the world, that you won't be having foods you used to enjoy ever again?
You know what? My whys are bigger than the food. Mm-hmm. So my why of being diabetic is so much bigger than any piece of food. And I just tell myself, I already know what it tastes like. I've tasted it before. I've had my lifetime supply. I'm done. And it would taste the same as it tasted before. So I don't need to taste it. And once I taste it, it just goes into my system and it hurts my system. So why put it in there? It doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me to not eat it. It just doesn't.
Yeah, you're over it.
Yeah, I'm done.
Your success, health-wise, for starters, I'm sure, overrides a lot of that. And one last question as we close up. I'm sure there's someone here, just like Ashley, 4 days in, who's just getting started. They may have had a similar road from, a early childhood, but maybe not. There's a day 3 from Tracy.
Hey, Tracy.
What would you say to someone who has not even begun yet? What would you say to them?
You can do this. You are worth it. You are worth it. Please look in the mirror and see that you're worth it. And be okay with the fact that you're worth it. And then allow yourself to do it. You have to be able to turn it over and let the program work for you. And then you can work the program. And if you do, it will work. And don't try and monkey with it. Don't try and say, what if, what if, what if, what if, what if. None of the what ifs matter. It just doesn't. What matters is that you're worth it. And you can become who you really want to be. But still enjoy yourself. Have fun. Have fun doing it. Like, really enjoy it. It's a great program. And it's just worth every minute of it. And be in the community. Please get in the community. That's where it's at. That's where all of the excitement is. That's where the friends are made. That's where you get strength. It's just being in the community.
Absolutely. Everything you just said. And as Tracy said here, BLE doesn't have to be boring eating.
No, it doesn't.
At all.
No, it doesn't.
It's not at all.
No, it's fun.
Well, Kellene, I can't believe the hour has gone by so fast. You have so much to give here, and you gave it all. I just so appreciate that you took the time and said yes, and to share.
I'm honored to have been here, Noreen. Really, I really am honored. Thank you. And I just want to say, everybody, welcome, and just have fun. Yeah, just love it.
Just love it. And you never know. You might be going on 14-mile treks.
Exactly. We'll all go together. Let's do it. You know what? A big group of us from my Gideon Games team, we all met down at Bryce Canyon this last spring, and we all hiked Bryce Canyon, and they did fantastic. It was great. We had so much fun.
I think I'm going on a BLE tour just to meet all these people in real life.
Yes. Come and join. Come
that will be great.
Come to Utah. I'll take you anywhere you want to go.
So we have to close. The time is up, and we try to stay on time here. So any last word, Kellene?
Just thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you for being such a support. There's a lot of the people that are on today. She's one of them right there that is part of my support. And I could not have done it, could not keep doing it without the support. Couldn't have happened.
And you're that support too.
Thank you.
Every single one of us is a support to someone else. Remember, you can be that person for someone else. And they're there for you too. Reach out and get a buddy, get in the groups, or get in boot camp, whatever is your level. Just, whatever you feel like you can do, just go ahead and do it. And it's really a lot of fun with everybody. Yeah. So I'm going to close as I close each week. Thank you and good night. Stay bright. Don't let the bed bugs bite. Good night, everybody.
Bye-bye.
So, Kellene, how would you like to play 3-Question Thursday?
I'd love it.
I would love it too. 3-Question Thursday. I saved a question from the chat because someone at the end asked this. As you lost the weight, did you have a hard time accepting the image in the mirror? Did you?
Yes, I did. I did have body dysmorphia, and I still have a bit of body dysmorphia. It's hard. It's real and it's hard. And one of the ways that I helped the body dysmorphia is I got a full-length mirror. That really has helped me to be able to see my full self, because before that, I never had a full-length mirror. I just had my mirror in the bathroom that was just, the medicine cabinet mirror. And as soon as I got the full-length mirror, then I'm like, oh, wow, I do I am a size 8. I do look okay. I do have that body. I was very disillusioned. And there's still times when I'm in the grocery store and I walk by a mirror and I'm like, who is that? There's times when I'm sitting there that I still feel very obese. To this day, there's days when I just like, I wish I could get this weight off, and it's off. And so, and I think part of it is the fact that we see ourselves naked and nobody else does. And in clothes, it hides a lot, right? So we have that skin, we have all of that we think should have just gone away when we get down to go away, and it doesn't. I'm just here to tell you, unless you're willing to have a surgery, and I don't even know if it all goes away with surgery. I don't know. I haven't done that, but you know, it's there, but you still look phenomenal. I mean, when I looked at those before and after pictures, and I don't think one of them was when I was 280. I think all of them were when I was even less than 280. I didn't like pictures when I was 280. I didn't like pictures when I was 240. I didn't like pictures anytime. So that when I looked at those pictures, I was like, sometimes I feel like that person still. Mm-hmm. And then I see my new picture and I'm like, oh, that's me, because I was there. And I have to get my brain wrapped around it. And somebody told me the other day that after 5 years, your body gets used to being in the right size body. So my goal is to make it another 3.5 so I can feel that way.
Fantastic. That was, you know, this is part of the aha stuff that you're going through, and even like the acceptance, I believe. Mm-hmm. Question number 2, what is your like 1, 2, 3 as far as advice of, you see how I'm sneaking that in there, 1, 2, 3, like as far as tools that you found helpful?
So one of the tools that I found very helpful was the fact that it's my program. It's mine. And that's helped me a lot in maintenance, but it also helped me a lot in weight loss. It's my program. It's not Susan's program. It's not my buddy's program. It's not my Gideon Games team program. It's my program. And I have to have ownership of it. If you let somebody else have ownership of your program, it won't work. My personal opinion, just take it for what it's worth. I feel like that's number 1 for me. I think number 2 is just to keep moving and keep doing fun things and keep your body moving towards a good direction, because if we're moving, you know, the only constant is change. You're either going to move forward or move backward. And so you might as well move forward. And so if you keep having goals forward, like if you keep saying, you know, next week, I want to go up that flight of stairs without stopping once. Then the next week, I want to go up 2 flights of stairs without stopping once. I mean, you can do these little things, or I can walk for 10 minutes today. Isn't that great? And next week I can walk for 15 minutes. Just those little steps forward, those little goals are going to get us to those big goals, you know? So now I have goals to go backpacking and to go overnight and to hike for multiple days. I had a goal this year to hike Kilimanjaro, and COVID struck us down. So we didn't get to hike Kilimanjaro, but those are tangible goals, but you have to set little goals on the way. And then number 3, believe in yourself. Just believe in you. You, like I said before, you're worth it. And if you believe in you, then you can do it. And then have other people tell you all the time that they believe in you too. It helps.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really torn because I have a question. It's really going to be a little tiny question, but I think it's so important right now because of your massage therapy. Remember, you were talking the other day about cadavers, what you found out. Yeah. Can you just share that? And then I have another real question. Okay.
So when I went to school for massage therapy, we got to go work at the U of U on the cadaver lab. And it was wonderful because we got to actually feel the muscle strands in the body and get to see the direction they were going. But our teacher told us that there's a lot of times where they will cut an intestinal tract open and there's whole vitamins in it. So if you're a vitamin person, that's great. Just make sure they're water soluble. So if you have your vitamins and you put them in water and they don't go away, then don't take them, because they're not going to go away in your stomach either. They're going to go right to the intestine and you're going to poop them out. That's what's going to happen. And that's been 30 years ago. So, they've improved vitamins and whatever. And I've seen where some vitamins say water soluble on them, because I'm sure that got back to them. But just make sure if you're going to take a vitamin, that you're going to take a water soluble vitamin.
Wow. Now this I think is really important information right now about the vitamins. But the 3.5 question.
Yes.
You mentioned the words peak bag to me.
Yes.
And for a hiker, what does that mean?
So I became a peak bagger and I love it. So I love to go to the peak. I have a goal to get up there, and there might be trials along the way, but I'm going to get to that peak. Like, it means everything to me to bag as many peaks as I can get. And that's where my site is at, is peak bagging. So I feel the same with Bright Line Eating. Like, we are peak baggers. We are here for it. We're here to win that. We're here to go to the top. And that's where our eyes are looking, right? Yes. And it's not about a number. It's not about the food. It's really not about the food. It is about our lives. It is about me as a whole person. Yeah. And what I can give to the community, and what I can give to myself. That's where it's at. Like, anyway.
I can just see you at that peak. Seriously, I can just see you at that peak with such joy.
Oh, it's so fantastic.
And I see you in the analogy of that peak with Bright Line Eating, and what you've been able to accomplish, just turning your health around and taking ownership of all of that journey, and now turning around and serving others by guiding them. You're the whole deal, Kelleen. Thank you so much for sharing your joy of this program and life with us. It's really remarkable. I really
thank you so much. I really enjoyed being here. So thank you.
So thanks for being on Starting Out Bright, and thank you for playing 3-Question Thursday. So, good night, everybody. Stay bright. Good night.